Hello, welcome to this edition of Talking Hope. We are deep in the depths of November, so Christmas is next month. I wonder what you're doing for Christmas. I don't mean with your family and friends. I wonder how you are making the most of the missional opportunity that is Christmas. I am really excited to introduce a friend of mine to you. This is an unusual friend in that it's a friend that lives about 2 miles from where I do. We've never actually met face to face. We just know each other very well over Zoom calls and social media. So she's called Naomi Dawson, and she is a community evangelist, amongst many other things, in a suburb of Southampton. And she's going to introduce herself to us, and she's going to talk to us about how she is making the most of the mission opportunity that is Christmas in, with and for her community. Hi, Nay, great to see you.
Hi, Sammy.
I know you're not very far down the road from me, but it's really wet and miserable and horrible this morning. So I think I'm quite glad that I've not had to jump in a car.
Yeah.
Now, I know you well. You are a friend and you are a fellow kind of community evangelist, and you often fill my social media feed with some of the amazing things that you do in your community. But I'm aware nobody else will know you like I know you. So just take a few minutes to introduce yourself.
Thanks, Sammy. Yeah, so I'm Nay. I live in Southampton, married to John, who's a scientist at the hospital. And we've got 2 little girls, Anya and Agnes. They're 9 and 6. So I live near to Sammy. I don't think we've actually ever met in person, but I'm mutually encouraged by her too. So, yeah.
And what do you do as a job, Nay? It's not what we're here to talk about, but I want people to get a sense of who you are and your role, your ministry.
Yeah, thank you. So I work with IFES, the International Fellowship of Evangelical Students, and we work with Christian unions around the world. My job is that I'm on the regional team for IFES Europe, and I've got 2 projects that I work with. One is raising up female evangelists that are confident and courageous in sharing the gospel. And then secondly, I run a network of students and staff that introduce their friends to Jesus through the Gospels. So as a charity, we basically help Christians share the good news of Jesus in universities across Europe.
Thank you, Nay. But that isn't actually, I know, what we're here to talk about this morning. I know we get on well. There's a bit of synergy between us because we're both mums who juggle. We juggle jobs for charities and ministries alongside being mums, alongside roles in our communities. Do you want to tell us what your sense is of your role in your community, and maybe just a little bit about your community, kind of paint a picture of the kind of geography and demography so we get a sense of where God's planted you?
Yeah, thanks, Sammy. So we moved here about 6 years ago. We live in Bitton Park. It's an area of about 18,000 people. And really, since my kids have been at school, we've just got to know loads more people. But saying that, it was actually in the pandemic that I really got to know people. I had this real sense of frustration of how on earth am I going to reach out? How am I going to be salt and light in our community if we're locked inside? So, yeah, we live in this area. There's lots of families. There's lots of people that have lived here for 30, 40 years, a village within the city. So it's got a nice small feel, but within the city still. We're by the river. There's a nice park. So there's a lot going for it as a place. But as I said, it was actually only in lockdown, really, that I had this kind of light bulb moment of just being more courageous in building community. So no one asked me to do it. I wasn't commissioned necessarily by my church to do it. They're supportive. But it was out of a frustration that God really said to me, Nay, where do you think you shouldn't be? And at that point of year, the next thing was Halloween. And I'd never celebrated Halloween. I'm a Christian. We don't do that. But it ended up that actually I was not only part of our local Halloween celebrations, I ran a local trail for Halloween. So yeah, that's our area. It's just fairly normal, but lots and lots of brilliant people.
So it's this suburb of Southampton. There's a lot of families. There's the park, there's the school. There was the opportunity of COVID. And I get a sense from you that it's about creating community and being salt and light, kind of being part of that community, and then from your role, from those relational networks, sharing Jesus with people. What about Christmas then? Because lots of us, we're looking next to Christmas. We've kind of just done Halloween, tick that box. I was like you, I was out doing things in my community. But Christmas is a massive missional opportunity. What are you doing in and with and for your community for Christmas? How are you sharing Jesus with them?
Yeah, thanks, Sammy. So it all began last year in Halloween. And remember, back to lockdown, all we could do was go outside and do exercise. And so I wanted to establish something that would give families a bit of fun, something to do, a bit of purpose, and bring people together by planning it online. So we did this trail. And as we were doing it, I was thinking, wow, the opportunity to do a nativity trail is huge. So I had that in the back of my head the whole time. Again, remember, I'm just a mum. I work. I'm not paid to do this.
Hang on a minute. Nobody is ever just anything, are we? Because we're children of God, but there you go.
Because the Halloween Trail was such a success, so we had 30 or so families involved, hundreds and hundreds of people come to our door, I realised this was possible. And so we did a nativity trail last year, a 24-day reveal. Every day we had a bit of the nativity story, and it was one house for each day. Each house took a bit of the story, decorated the front garden beautifully, and then we had these gift bags to give away. And I've been writing these stories that kind of raise hope and in the person of Jesus and raise curiosity. So we gave out 600 or 700 of these bags. After that, we did loads more trails, Easter trails, Lego half-term trail. And by the end of lockdown, people were beginning to say, have they had their day? So we had a good pause from June until October. We just ran another Halloween trail. And again, this time thousands of people came round. And so the question was, what do we do this year? We want to keep fresh. We want to really engage our culture with the true meaning of the incarnation. So we did nativity last year. We thought we'd give it a break this year. And instead, we're going to do a Narnia trail. We're going to go through the story of The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. And then at the end, we've got these beautifully written postcards which point to the person of Jesus and say, if you want to know more, then come and find out at one of our carol services. And all the churches in the area are going to be represented on this postcard that we give out in a gift bag. So we're just in the kind of planning stages. We need 19 people, 19 houses to decorate their gardens. And we're just going for kind of beauty and the story of Narnia. And as C.S. Lewis says, sometimes fairy tales can tell the story better. So we're going for that. But also we do want to be clear that we're Christians. So these trails, I run them, but I draw in Christians, non-Christians, whoever. And so I say to somebody, there's 3 things I'm involved in this year for Christmas. The second thing is called Christmas in the Triangle. And that's an afternoon where all the shops on the Triangle, which is like a business area, basically get involved and put on Christmas food, Christmas games, songs. We'll have a ukulele band. And I'm not organising that, I'm just on the team. But at that Christmas in the Triangle where we're celebrating local businesses, we're also going to have a couple of stands where we have Christmas crafts. So the children will be making something about the nativity, taking it home, pausing, thinking, colouring, and they'll learn part of the story there. And I think, things like crafts are good to slow people down because you have to colour it in and think about what on earth is this message. So there's the Narnia Trail, there's Christmas in the Triangle, and then finally, I love outdoor swimming, as Sammy knows. And I swim 6 o'clock.
Mad lady.
Crazy. I swim 6 o'clock every morning in our river. And that again came out of lockdown. So it's amazing what God has done really in my life. But as a group, there's 60 of us now, started with 3. Every year, this is the second year, a festive swim and sing. And we all get dressed up in fancy dress and swim down the river, our usual route. But we have a canoe full of musicians who play carol songs. And so this big group of people who are so diverse, you wouldn't believe, we'll be caroling, we'll be singing these amazing, beautiful truths about how Jesus came to this world as a baby in all brokenness to heal us. So that's the third thing I'm doing. It's so much fun. But again, it will communicate something of the beauty, goodness, truth of Jesus Christ. So yeah, that's my Christmas. And then I'll have to sleep at New Year, I think.
I love the idea of musicians on a boat playing carols. I love the bonkersness of it. I think sometimes to be good news, we have to raise a smile, don't we? And we have to be prepared to be fools for Christ and do some mad stuff. I know I have done in my time. I also love that in a way it's going from there's your friendship community with the swimming. Then there's your school network and families in the area community, and then there's the wider community. I'm someone that likes to think about flow and signposting, and there's a kind of a flow, isn't there, through your friendship networks to the school networks. You know, if you're in the wider community doing that Christmas in the Triangle, I'm sure you'll be able to signpost your trail. So all the way along, people are being signposted to other events and pointed to Jesus. I guess one thing that people might find helpful is, what do you put in your gift bag? So I know you're a talented writer, so I know you write things as a giveaway, but what else goes in those gift bags?
Yeah, I mean, thanks for saying I'm a talented writer. I've never really written anything until March of lockdown.
She is. I've read what she writes. She's a talented writer.
So again, it was because at Halloween I wanted to give something out that I knew I could look at my friends in the face and I could give it to them. I knew it would be good news for them. And sometimes some of the tracks, particularly the Halloween ones, are just too heavy. So again, maybe you could write something yourself. Maybe you could think about something that's creative for your area, specific for your friends that you feel happy with. I literally write them, design them on Canva and send them to Solo Press to get them printed. So you're very welcome to have a look on my Houses of Light Etsy account, but there's loads of tracks you could look at, 10 of those, Good Book Company, they all have them, but I would maybe ask God, could you write something yourself for your community? So we just at the moment we use my little stories. We then buy chocolates and get bags on Amazon, and they cost about 25p a bag if you do it yourself. So we're getting ready for 500 at Christmas. We have written to all the Christians in the area to say, can you give money to help support us? So yeah, it's really simple what we do, but it's making the most of that opportunity. And I think, like Sammy's saying, it's really important we're engaged in like sharing the gospel with our friends. For those that are interested, introducing them to Jesus through the scriptures, but then also just chucking the seed en masse so that anyone can have the chance to respond, because so many people have grown up knowing nothing of Jesus, or just having the totally wrong impression of him, that he's oppressive and he's restrictive. We want to show people who Jesus really is, and a good way to do that is to be very generous. Those that sow generously reap generously. So that's why I love these trails, because it's public. And my family, I'm the only Christian, me and my mum are the only Christian. And my constant prayer is that somebody near my brothers would be sowing generously so they can hear about him. To do that, and you never know. I mean, actually, after Halloween, I thought my stories probably didn't say enough about Jesus. That was a bit of feedback from a publisher. And then a woman wrote to me from Norwich and said, "Nay, I don't like what you're doing. You're indoctrinating children." And I actually felt encouraged. I thought, I've written enough because somebody's taken offence. So yeah, keep on going. And you may have criticism. People have definitely had criticism, but there will be some that say, wow, this story brings light.
So there's something about knowing your context, and that, one context is not going to be the same as the next. So it's knowing what's appropriate to do, but also knowing how to speak into your context. And for you, that means you've written stories that you know are accessible and will build that bridge between kind of day-to-day life and faith for your context. But for others, they might not want to write their own. And that's where I guess hope can come in, because we have our Christmas magazines, we have our children's books, and they're easy ways in. There's something I think about what you said as well, that you involve the community. So the mission is not just doing the trail, but there's a mutuality about it, because your community are also hosting the trail. And then you're clearly signposting them. So you've got your bags that then signpost them to Christmas services and things that either they otherwise might not hear about, or it might be wallpaper. And then I think there's something in what you said as well about we shouldn't make any assumptions about what people know and don't know these days about Christmas. You know, the Christmas story, we don't have as much latent faith out there. I know I did an art festival with a school very local to you only a few years ago, and the schools were asked to draw scenes from the Christmas story, and one child drew Boadicea, and the receptionist at the school was horrified. And she said, oh, we really need you to come in, Sammy, and do more RE and more assemblies. And this shouldn't happen. And I said, but who else is going to tell these children if parents don't go to church and grandparents haven't been to church? You know, that latent faith isn't there. So we do at Christmas need to make sure that we don't think everybody knows the Christmas story. You know, let's not make that assumption. Let's make it really clear, which is what you're doing in a very visual way through your trail and also through what you hand out.
Yeah, and I think C.S. Lewis again talks about how stories can communicate so much to the emotions, but also he talks about stealing past watchful dragons. And what I've done for Christmas is I've written a little story called Lucy and the Bird. And it's about a girl that goes to sleep on Christmas Eve in her brand new onesie. She gets woken up in the dark, hears this screeching noise, discovers it's a mouse inside, a bird rather, inside the chimney. She crawls in to rescue it, brings it out, her family bring it back to health, send it back to their family. But in the process, she's destroyed her brand new white onesie. And at the end, I raised the question of how is there somebody who could come to this world and heal the brokenness of this world, and look at the person of Jesus and how actually he was broken for us. And people have criticized me and said, Nay, you should just talk about the nativity. But what that story does is it talks about the incarnation and what the incarnation does for us. It doesn't talk about the actual incarnation, but talks about the kind of purpose of it and how it heals us through Jesus. And I do think people read those stories and then they're like, oh, I didn't think about it like that before. Whereas people are so used to the nativity being the nativity that it has nothing for them, that I actually think we need to work a bit harder in telling stories like Jesus did through his parables. And through that, we then communicate in a much deeper, more surprising, meaningful way. And we get people off guard a bit and then they'll open up. So, yeah, I totally agree, Sammy.
Yeah, so there's something, isn't there, then, about not just doing the what of the nativity, but the why of the nativity. And it's that why that catches people off guard. And, you know, I do a lot of storytelling, and I've done so before with children and schools. And God's always saying to me, there's power in the story. You tell the story, there's power in it, you know, I'll do the rest. And that's what you're trying to do with your community in Bit and Part this Christmas. Tell the story in lots of different ways and signpost people to Christmas opportunities where they can engage with Jesus and the real meaning of Christmas, that why. Thank you, Nay. Thank you for sharing what you're doing. I hope and pray it goes really, really well. And those thousands of people that you saw at Halloween are back on the streets this Christmas. You're doing Narnia. Have you got any snow?
Yeah, we have got fake snow, yeah. We've also got a White Witch costume, apparently, and I'm working out how to make Turkish delight. We're going to have a launch night this year. So we're thinking maybe the White Witch could go around with Turkish delight to launch the trail. So,
amazing.
It's going to be fun.
Thank you for inspiring us with your creativity. And I love, Nay, that you do this, as I say, alongside juggling work and mum roles. You know, I think that hopefully makes what you do really accessible, as well as really challenging to the rest of us. So thank you and God bless. So I wonder if you've been inspired by what Nay was sharing to us about being salt and light in her community, about those Christmas trails and about those giveaways, about pointing people towards Christmas services so that they can understand the why of Christmas as well as the what. Maybe you haven't got time to put a trail together. Maybe you don't feel it's quite right for you to write your own stories like Nay does. Have no fear. We've taken the work out of that for you. So do remember that we have got Jesus to the rescue which is our children's Happy Land Christmas book that explains how and why God sent Jesus into the broken world to rescue it. Really suitable for children under 5 and even kind of infant age children. So if you are out in your community and wanting a good giveaway for young families, Jesus to the Rescue is available in our Hope shop. We've also got our Christmas edition of our magazine, Hope for All. It's out now. If you're watching Strictly, Dan Walker is in it. Maybe you've been keeping track of what Marcus Rashford has been doing this year with his school meals alongside his football. He's in it. So is Frank Skinner. Maybe you love Charlie Mackesy as well, the artist with that brilliant book, The Boy, the Horse, the Fox and the Mole. Lots and lots of really accessible articles and people who are known by people in our community that we can have conversations about that then point them to Jesus. So check out the Hope for All Christmas magazine in our Hope shop. It's only 10 pence. Maybe you can deliver it when you deliver your Christmas cards or when you go carol singing. But there's no reason why we all can't make the most of the massive mission opportunity that is Christmas. Take care. God bless.